The year I taught remedial algebra in Dallas, I had about 120 students across my sections. These were not struggling students in the way people sometimes mean that word. They were bright, they were funny, they were curious. They worked hard when they believed they had a chance, but they had been placed in remedial algebra, which in most schools is a signal that math and the student hadn't gotten along. I expected to find students who struggled with algebraic concepts, variables, functions, solving for x. What I found was different. Most of them weren't struggling with algebra, they were struggling with multiplication. When a problem required them to factor or simplify or recognize a pattern, their working memory was completely consumed trying to recall what 8 times 7 was. They didn't have that fact, not automatically, not the way you need it to actually think. And the algebraic reasoning they were supposed to be building never had a chance. The foundation wasn't there. I did what I always do when I encounter a problem I can't immediately explain. I started asking questions. I ran a root cause analysis the same way I had in 30 years of software engineering, the same way I had conducted a band rehearsal. You don't fix the symptom, you find the source. And somewhere in the process, I noticed something I couldn't stop thinking about. Not one of my 120 remedial algebra students had been in band. Now, I want to be careful because correlation is not causation. I'm a mathematician and I know the difference. But I'd spent 3 years as a band director. I'd spent decades thinking about how expertise develops. I had done graduate research on the relationship between music performance and academic outcomes, and something about that observation would not let me go. Music education has always had something that math education quietly walked away from. As a performance culture. In band, you're expected to perform your fundamentals under pressure. You're expected to practice something until it becomes automatic, until you stop thinking about the notes and start thinking about the music. You audition, you compete, you stand up in front of people and demonstrate what you know. We call that sight reading in music. Put a brand new piece in front of a musician. They play it in real time, no hesitation. The symbol and the sound are connected automatically. The same way a word on this page connects to meaning without you consciously decoding it. That's fluency. And fluency is the runway for higher order thinking. In 1989, a committee of education professionals issued a set of standards that quietly, gradually shifted mathematics education away from that kind of performance culture, away from automaticity, away from the expectation that students would know their basic facts cold, under pressure, without a calculator. Music never made that shift that math made. 35 years later, I was looking at the results in a Dallas math classroom. And here's the thing about artificial intelligence that most people get backwards. People look at AI and say, if machines can do the computation, students need less mathematics. I look at AI and reach the opposite conclusion. If machines are handling the routine computation, then the human value is in the thinking, the reasoning, the judgment, the creativity, the ability to look at a complex problem and figure out what to do. And you cannot think deeply about mathematics or anything else that requires mathematical reasoning if your working memory is consumed by the basics. Fluency is the runway. Without it, the plane doesn't take off. So during my planning period in that Dallas building, I started building something. Free, browser-based speech recognition game where students stand up, speak their multiplication facts aloud, compete, earn ratings, and build the kind of fluency that used to be built by a culture that expected it. I call it what times what. Over the next several weeks, I want to explore with you the ideas behind it. Not just the product, the philosophy. Because if I'm right, and I think I am, then the principles that made music education effective for a century are exactly the principles we need to bring back mathematics in the age of AI. I'd love to know what you think. Have you seen this in your own classroom or with your own kids? Drop it in the comments. I read every one.